Just as a round of introductions, my name is Jamison Wright. I am the NOHA Communications and Administrative Manager, and I'm based at the Ruhr University in Bochum, Germany. And I'm joined by my colleague from the Master's Secretariat, Itxaso. Itxaso, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So I'm Itxaso Elizondo. I'm the person behind the Master Secretariat, and I'm located at the University of Deusto in Spain.
Thank you very much. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we have a couple of slides to go through. We're going to introduce what is NOHA, then follow that up with what is the NOHA Masters and how is it sort of set up and structured. And then we will get into some information on completing the NOHA Masters application form. If you do have any questions, we do have some FAQs that we're going to answer at the end of the session. But if you have any additional questions, I would invite you to submit them via the Q&A function via Zoom. And with that in mind, let's get started. So what is NOHA? So NOHA, or the Network on Humanitarian Action, is a network of 9 European universities that was established in 1993 with the support of the European Commission, what is now DG ECHO, with the idea or with the purpose of professionalizing humanitarian education. And today, it's sort of most well known for its master's program in international humanitarian action, which has been going on or taking place for over 30 years now. And today we also have over 4,000 graduates of the master's program and also of our short-term courses in different specific topics in humanitarian action. And so, it's really these 3 decades of experience has sort of shown NOHA's commitment and capacity to educate highly committed individuals in the field of international humanitarian action. And what we pride ourselves on, or what we really focus on, is not to have a very focused educational program, but rather an interdisciplinary program. So what this means is we bring in different topics which can help sort of contextualize what students bring into the program within the context of humanitarian action. So I usually like to describe NOHA as a stepping stone, which students can use to then take whatever they've done in the past, be it, if they've studied political science, or if they've studied medicine or engineering, and really use that or this program to focus that topic or that sort of expertise in the humanitarian sector. And, another sort of added benefit of the NOHA Master is that in July 2020, NOHA was selected for the 4th time as an Erasmus Mundus program, which means that we will continue to offer Erasmus Mundus programs for the 4 editions that followed that. So starting with the class of 2021, then 2022, the class that just started in 2023, and then also this coming cohort of 2024. As I sort of mentioned a little bit earlier, NOHA is also more than just the master's program, even though we're very well known for the master's program. We also try to focus on research and training beyond postgraduate education in the humanitarian sector. And so I would invite everyone to take a look at the JIHA, the Journal of International Humanitarian Action, which is an open access journal on interdisciplinary topics in humanitarian action. Additionally, we've hosted short-term courses on humanitarian action as a general topic, but also on protection, cash-based programming, and as well on negotiation and mediation. And hopefully we will be relaunching our mediation course next year. And finally, we've worked on a number of EU-funded projects, research projects, including UFRA, UHAP, the BRTE, and also the European Humanitarian Roundtable. So when you come into NOHA, the goal is to not only get you engaged with humanitarian education, but also humanitarian research and also more policy level research engagement with the humanitarian sector. And as I mentioned before, NOHA is a network of 9 European universities. And so currently these are the 9 European universities that make up NOHA. Not all of them were there from the very beginning, but several of the founding members are still there. So we have the University of Deusto in Spain, the University of Bochum in Germany, Uppsala in Sweden, University of Warsaw in Poland, University College Dublin in Ireland, the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, Aix-Marseille Université in France, University of Malta in Malta, and Vilnius University in Lithuania. And all of these 9 European universities outside of the University of Vilnius in Lithuania take part in the master's program and offer the master's program together. And so this is sort of a map of all of the universities and where they're located. And so before we get into sort of a more detailed view of the master's program, here's just a few sort of basic, bullet points of information on the master's program. So the master's program is a 2-year, 4-semester, meaning 120 ECTS master's program. So across the 4 semesters, you have 30 credit points that you'll take, or 30 credits of classes that you will take each semester. There are both professional and academic specializations that are developed in partnership with global universities and humanitarian organizations, particularly for the 3rd semester. So we'll get into that in a little bit. And we have 3 main languages of instruction. So at all universities, outside of the University of Deusto and Aix-Marseille Université, the language of instruction is English. At the University of Deusto, Spanish is the language of instruction only in the 1st semester, and the 2nd semester is instructed in English. And at Aix-Marseille Université, both the 1st and 2nd semester are instructed in English, in French, apologies. And so what this means is that, this is a question we get asked quite a bit about the master's program, because people read, okay, 3 languages of instruction and 3, proofs of language qualification that you would have to provide. But really, if you're, say, studying your 1st semester at the University of Malta and your 2nd semester at the University of Groningen, you would only need to provide proof of your English language ability. You would not need to provide proof that you speak all 3 languages. So again, most of the courses of study that you can take would only be in English. And it's again, only that 1st semester in Deusto and the 1st and 2nd semester in Aix-Marseille that would be in a language other than English. And so in the 1st year, you'll study at 2 different universities across Europe, or 3, including the intensive program where you start off with. And then in your 2nd year, the goal is to for the students to expand a little bit based upon how they want to experience the rest of the program. And finally, for next year, for the cohort 2024-2026, there will be 25 Erasmus Mundus scholarships available. And as I mentioned before, the NOHA Master's program is not only the oldest postgraduate program in humanitarian action, but it also has over 4,000 alumni worldwide, and is one of the best known graduate programs in humanitarian action globally. And so this is our cohort from last year at the intensive program at the University of Warsaw. And, we, I think, really pride ourselves at NOHA in our, jointness of the program that we've developed. So while NOHA may have started off as this sort of cooperation across several universities, we've now have a jointly designed and fully integrated academic curriculum, which means that the first semester, the learning objectives that students have will be the same for the 5 interdisciplinary courses, no matter what university you start at. We also have common implementation procedures, a joint study and examination regulations for students across all of the universities. And additionally, we share quality assurance mechanisms, a governance structure, and administrative and financial management, which means that, when one university makes decisions on the master's program, it does so together and sort of within the context of an agreement and a board of directors of the entire master's program across all universities. Finally, there's a joint participation cost, which means that the fees for the master's program are paid to one institution and are then managed across the network by that institution. And finally, there is a joint degree awarded, and depending on the sort of legal status at the universities you attend, you'll either get a joint degree issued by one university in the name of several universities and signed and processed by several universities, or you'll get a double degree. So you'll get a degree from one university and the other in that context. So moving on to the structure of the master's program, and this is what something that I always love to sort of describe, because I think it is really exciting, particularly for those students that are just coming into the program. And one bit of introduction that I may have forgot at the very beginning is that I myself was a NOHA student, or am a NOHA alumni. So, thinking back to when I started the program and sort of working through this complex structure and how it works across the different semesters, it's always quite fascinating. So this is the graphic that we like to share to describe the structure of the master's program. So students will apply and start off the program or their master's at the intensive program, which is a 1-week introductory course in humanitarian action. In the past, it's been hosted either rotating around the network, or for a 10-year period, it was always hosted at the University of Warsaw. This past year, we hosted it here at the University of Bochum, and it will likely be at the University of Bochum again next year. So after this 1-week intensive program, where all students from all 8 NOHA universities come together for this 1-week course in humanitarian action to sort of get everyone on the same page and sort of the basics, students will then travel to their first semester university, or their home university. And this is the university that always remains your first point of contact for anything dealing with NOHA or dealing with the rest of the NOHA program. Then, following the completion of your first semester, which will take you usually from about September, mid-September, early October until the end of January, in February the next year, you'll start at your host university, which will be your second semester university. And here's where the program starts to sort of change a little bit, in that each of the 8 universities has their own specialization for the second semester. And we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Following the completion of the second semester, students have the option of either choosing a regional training track, which is a second mobility period where students can travel to and study at one of our non-European partner universities, or they can go for the work placement track, which is then with a partner humanitarian organization or a self-arranged internship at a humanitarian organization. And then in the fourth semester, the students will research and complete their master's thesis and then become NOHA graduates. I see that there are already quite a few questions in the Q&A, but I think Itxaso and I will work through those once we get to the end of the presentation. So I just ask everyone to be patient with those. Thank you very much. So I said earlier that across all of the universities, the first semester was jointly designed and is implemented together, which means at each university, all of the courses are the same. So there's the intensive program, which is done jointly for all students from all universities. And then once you get to your home university, you'll have a course on world politics, legal dimensions of humanitarian action, people and culture, sort of looking at the anthropological aspect of humanitarian action, management, and public health. So here's where you really get into this sort of interdisciplinary nature of the NOHA program. Once you move on to your second semester, there are 10 credit points in the second semester that are going to be joint across all universities. So the courses Advanced Management and Research Methods are offered at all universities. And those are sort of obligatory or compulsory courses. Beyond that, then you have the additional 20 ECTS of the second semester, or 20 credit points of the second semester, where the universities then sort of build in their own specialization. So at the University of Deusto, the specialization is on protection in humanitarian action. At the University of Bochum, it's on humanitarian policy and practice. At Uppsala University, it's on conflict, peace building, and religion. The University of Warsaw, it's on armed conflicts and humanitarian action. At Aix-Marseille Université, it's on legal and geopolitical dimensions of humanitarian action. And at University College Dublin, it's on societies in transition. At the University of Malta, on forced migration. And at the University of Groningen, it's on humanitarian analysis and design. And just, some examples of what this specialization really means. I mentioned earlier that I'm a NOHA alumni, which meant I was in Bochum in my first semester and in Dublin in my second semester. And this topic of societies in transition really focused on, how a society develops out of a conflict. And so we went to Northern Ireland, we talked to people that were involved in the conflict on both sides, community organizations, police, to really understand how the society of Northern Ireland sort of evolved out of the conflict, or what sort of the challenges behind that were. But I know, at some of the other programs for the second semester, protection and humanitarian action at the University of Deusto, it includes a field trip oftentimes to Morocco to look at to the Spanish-Moroccan border, to look at, the challenges of protection in migration in that border area. Likewise, the forced migration specialization at the University of Malta, we always have a lot of students that during their second semester get involved with organizations that are working on forced migration in the Mediterranean. So here you can really see the different focuses of the different universities and what that really means for the classes and the experiences at the universities themselves. Then during the third semester, the contextualization period, you again have either the regional training track, which means students are then going to do another university semester at one of our non-European partner universities, or the work placement track, where students either through internships with organizations where we have partnerships, or through internships that students arrange themselves at other organizations, will then undergo an internship. And, during this work placement track, there is also a career development module where students should be engaging with, how this internship fits into their own career goals. And it will be sort of a little bit of this academic coaching side to keep students sort of still or to at least help them contextualize their internship and their work placement within their NOHA experience. And so here are some of the organizations, not all of the organizations, but some of the organizations that we have memorandums of understanding with along this third semester internship. But again, as I said, many of our students will then also arrange internships themselves at organizations in regions of the world or on topics that they are particularly interested in given their previous experiences. Additionally, here's then the sort of list of partner organizations or partner universities for students to go on the regional training track, this first of the two tracks that students can choose. And so we have Chiang Mai University in Thailand, Deakin University in Australia, Fordham in New York, German Jordanian University in Jordan, the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies in Qatar, Tata Institute of Social Sciences in India, Universidad Rafael Landívar in Guatemala, Universidad Javeriana in Colombia, Université San Josef in Lebanon, Gadjah Mada University in Indonesia, and Makeni University in Sierra Leone. And what I would say, in addition to these universities, we're always looking at bringing in new partnerships to the program to also improve our academic offering. So, this year is the first year that we're undertaking the exchange or have this partnership with Makeni University in Sierra Leone. Last year or the year before, I think, was the first year that we had the partnership with, or we were able to send students to Rafael Landívar in Guatemala. So, as you apply to the program, these are universities where we already have existing partnerships, but there could always be new partnerships that come in by the time the third semester comes around when you're in the program. And then, easier said than done, I guess, in the fourth semester, the students have a research period where they are complete their master's thesis supervised by their home university, so their first semester university, but also assessed by a staff member at the second semester university, so their host university. And so now I'll hand the floor over to my colleague Itxaso to talk a little bit about the application process.
Okay, thank you, Will. So I will take over the boring part, let's say like this. So first of all, Will, please go to the next slide. Yes. So we have two kind of applicants, as you know, those who request the Erasmus Mundus grant and the ordinary self-funded applicants. The deadlines are very different. And in case of the Erasmus Mundus scholarship applicants, this is very strict. As you know, we opened the process for the 24-26 cohort at the beginning of October. And until the 15th of December, candidates may apply also for the Erasmus Mundus scholarships. I'm sorry, but I will insist on this a bit. It's not possible to change, edit, or add any document after the 15th of December if you plan to request the Erasmus Mundus scholarship. This is a very strict deadline, and it is not possible to change the application at all after this deadline. So in case you are wondering, can I submit the English test afterwards and so on? I'm sorry. If you are planning to apply for the grant, I'm afraid this is not possible. Okay, please, Bill, next one. Okay, so before you start, some hints and tips that may help you in the application process. It is very basic, but I see mistakes every year. When you click to the apply link you had in the previous slide, it shows this is a screenshot directly of what you will see. There are two buttons. Is one for applying with the scholarship and the other one is without the scholarship. Please make sure that in case you wish to apply for the scholarship, you click on the right one. It's not the first time. We see mistakes every year. So please, please make sure you pay attention to this. Okay. Um, One important thing you need to bear in mind when you plan to submit your application is that the application is submitted, sorry, at once. It's not possible to save, it's not possible to change afterwards. You need to come prepared. So our advice is that you check a bit the application form and you start preparing what is needed. Also, in this line, our advice is that you also have a Word document prepared with all the responses of the form, and you can just copy paste. Why we are insisting on this? Because sometimes we see that technical problems happen, internet is weak, and sometimes you may be facing problems. So, in order to avoid resubmitting an entire application, it's a very good practice if you have a copy of what you submit prepared, just to be safe. So I already mentioned that it's not possible to make any addition to the application. For scholarship applicants after the 15th of December, this is the case. But until then, if you, for example, you realize that you attach the wrong CV, or that you would like to change the reference letter, or that you realize that there was a typo mistake in your, I don't know, in your surname, just send me an email and we can do these little additions. It's not a big deal. If there are major changes, if you are not satisfied with your application, you can also tell us, I want to resubmit an application. Please delete the previous one. But yeah, you need just to write an email and be careful with the first time you prepare the application. You need to submit everything at once. So next one, please, Bill. Okay, something I realized when Will was talking is that the first part of the application form, you will see that we ask you to put all the universities in order of preference. You need to take into account that you need to move. This is not yeah, this is a compulsory requirement. Your first semester and your second semester needs to be different. So you need to be very careful and think about what Will has explained about the second semester, which is the specialization. If you, for example, have already very clear in mind that you would like to do forced migration or that you would like to do protection, be aware that you cannot choose the same university for your first semester. And also be aware also of the language requirements. Will already mentioned. X requires French and Deusto for the first semester also requires Spanish. So be aware that you need to move. So when you are making your decision, making your mind, be aware that the first and second semester needs to be different. So in the application form, as I already told you, the first part is about your preferences when it comes to the universities. So after that, this is personal data, academic data, and so on. So this is like, let's say, generic personal and work experience related information. And then you will be also required to attach some of the documents. So a couple of tips when you are preparing this. Make sure you attach all the language certificates. Sometimes, as we emphasize that you are required to provide an English proof, sometimes you forget that, I don't know, you have a C1 in Italian or that you know some Portuguese and you have a certificate. Everything counts when you are preparing your application. So please make sure that you also attach those certificates. You will see that there is a box with the language certificates. So attach all of them in a single PDF, okay? If English, of course, it is a must. But if you have, I don't know, French or Italian or whatever, everything you have, please attach. Sometimes we also got a lot of questions from people that don't have much of experience, or they're a bit insecure when applying. So in this sense, please make sure that you mention all the maybe volunteering experience you have. Sometimes you don't have a lot of experience in the field, but you have been volunteers throughout the years. You have been doing some courses, I don't know, about negotiation, or I don't know, everything counts. So please don't leave anything aside. If you consider that you have been it is I don't know, if you have a volunteer experience that you would like to highlight and that you think it's relevant, please make sure you add it. Something also very, very, very important. This is a master program. So what we ask applicants is to bring documents from their bachelor studies. If you already have a master, which is great, there's no problem. If you would like to do a second or third or a different master, um, be aware that you can add, and we advise you to add, especially if it's related to the field, the diploma and the transcripts, but add as an additional document. When we ask you about the diploma and about the transcript, we are talking about the bachelor diplomas. This is very important, okay? And also, sometimes we get some questions about the motivation statement and the abstract. Be aware, in the motivation statement, we expect you to explain why you choose the program. How do you think it will be beneficial? Or which are the reasons behind applying for the program? And in the abstracts section, we only expect a brief introduction of yourself. Next one, please. Okay, so we have seen somehow the application form, and these are the documents to be attached. You need to put everything online through the online application form. So I will go step by document to document. So when it comes to the proof of nationality, if possible, we ask you to attach a copy of the passport. Um, if the passport is expired, or if you are waiting for a renewal, no problem. You may attach the expired one and then attach the other one. This is only to prove your nationality. If you don't have a passport yet, or yeah, you may also add your national ID. Afterwards, in case you are admitted, we will ask you to provide the passport. But at application stage, don't worry if it is expired or if you don't have it. So the proof of residence, we will go in more detail about this document. This document is only required for those of you who are planning to request Erasmus Mundus scholarship. Self-funded students are not required to prove so. I will go deeper later. So this is everything I will say about this document at this stage. So as I mentioned, the scanned copy of the bachelor diplomas, important. Is if these are not in English, you need to provide the original. I don't know, in Chinese, in German, but I don't mind the originals, but also the translation. The official translation must be carried out by a certified translator and must include the signature and stamp of the translator. If the university is able to issue these documents in English, is also fine, but otherwise you are required to provide an official translation. This also apply to the transcripts, okay? Afterwards, you need also to provide an updated CV. It's not compulsory to provide the CV in Europass format. This is only an advice we give you, which is also the evaluator side, but this is not compulsory. And if you have in another format and you feel more comfortable with that CV, it's okay. Now, when it comes to the official proof of language abilities, as I already told you, you need to provide the English proof, which is a must. But if you have also other certificates, you are also asked to submit those in this section. I will, as in the proof of residence, go in more detail about which are exactly the documents that are accepted at a later stage. So don't worry, I will go through this. And then we ask you to provide 2 recommendation letters. We advise, and I insist, advise. It's not a compulsory requirement to provide a letter from the educational sphere, maybe a lecturer, a professor, a teacher you have, and one from the professional sphere. If you feel more comfortable attaching 2 recommendation letters from the uh yeah to professional recommendation letters, it is fine. There's no problem. It is only an advice. And then I already mentioned the motivation statement and the abstract. These are not additional documents to be attached. These are to be complete directly in the application form. So bear in mind, because there is a maximum of characters. Bill, please, next one. Okay, so as I told you, I compile most of asked questions. So as I told you, the proof of residence. Okay, please pay special attention to this document. This is one of the documents we often get wrong, unfortunately. So one of the most important part you need to take into consideration is that this document must be issued within the last year. This is crucial. If the document is not dated or it has been issued in 2021, we will not accept your document, and I'm afraid you will be considered not eligible. Please be aware, national IDs are not a valid proof of residence, okay? We often get those. So which documents can be provided? So it differs from country to country, but there are public authorities and usually municipalities can issue this kind of certificates. You can send us the certificate if the certificate has been issued in one of the languages of the consortium. Otherwise, you will be asked to also provide an official translation of the document. So we will need the original and the translation. Otherwise, and this is a certificate that you usually get more easily, let's say like this, is a certificate issued by the place of work or the place of study. We don't need anything special. There is no concrete format for this. We need a certificate that, according to, I don't know, Bochum University, or I don't know which company, this person is residing here. That's it. This could be considered a valid proof of residence. And the last option is a document issued by a notary. In the last 2 cases, please be aware that the certificate must be written in English. In the case of the certificates that have been issued by the place of work or place of studies, make sure it is signed, it is dated, that it has been stamped if possible, and in cases that they have an official letterhead, that it has been printed with the official letterhead. Please, this is essential. But what is crucial is that you make sure that this document has been issued within the last 12 months from the application deadline. This only applies for Erasmus Mundus scholarship applicants. If you are planning to apply as an ordinary self-funded applicant, this document will not even be requested. Okay, one of also the questions we get very often is whether it is possible to submit documents at a later stage. I think I already answered this, but I will insist on this again. If you are planning to apply to the Erasmus Mundus grant, you are required to provide everything by 15th of December. I'm sorry, but we cannot accept any certificate, any diploma after that date. However, if you are a self-funded applicant and you don't have I don't know, the English certificate, you may apply and then submit at a later stage the final certificate. This, however, implies that you may get a conditional acceptance, which will be entirely decided by your home university. A conditional acceptance means that you have been accepted, but that this admission is not formal until you have met all the admission criteria. So please be aware of this. Next one, please, Bill. About the English certificates, I don't think it's worth that I go point by point, but these are the documents that are accepted at NOAA. Very, very important. We don't accept Duolingo. We don't accept online tests. These are the only certificates that are acceptable in NOAA. We are very strict with this, with the punctuation and all the scores. Please be very careful with this. You cannot provide an online test. It will not consider acceptable. No home version, no Duolingo, and not a certificate of having spent, I don't know, a summer in the United States. I'm afraid we cannot accept that. However, there are two exceptions to this rule. If you come from a native speaker of or an English speaking country, you will not be required, of course, to provide this kind of document. And in case the language of instruction of your bachelor was English, but this implies all subjects. I'm sorry, but if you have carried out, I don't know, a semester in, I don't know, in another country, and this implies that you have the majority of the subjects, but not all. I'm sorry, but you are required to provide the English certificate. So when it comes to the French and the Spanish, well, already Bill already clarified this, but I will insist a bit on this. Spanish and French are not a requirement. If you don't know any of these languages, it's okay. You may apply to the program. Be aware that a certified C1 French certificate, usually at DALF, is required if you plan to study at Aix-Marseille University in France, and the University of Deusto requires a B2 in Spanish. In this last case, it's not needed to provide a certificate. The local team at the University of Deusto will carry out an interview to check, among other things, that you have the sufficient Spanish level. For the rest of universities, the program is entirely in English and you are not required to provide any other additional language certificate. And the last question I compiled, is it possible for the recommender to send directly the letter to the program because they are hesitant because of a confidentiality and so on? Yes, yes. Be reassured that we receive a lot of recommendation letters. You can just tell your recommender to send me an email. Please, this is the address. Send the letter directly to this address, mention your name and surname, and in case you already applied, it will be of great help if your ID number is also provided, and we will add the letter directly to your application. This, of course, can be done within the deadlines. If we receive the recommendation letter after the deadline, and especially after the 15th of December for the Erasmus Mundus applicants, I'm afraid we could not accept that letter. So please be aware and make sure that your recommenders are aware of this deadline. So I think, Bill, that these are, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, these are the most frequently asked questions we often receive. I see that we have a lot of questions also, so we will be covering those. But in any case, if we don't clarify some point, or if you suddenly realize that you didn't have the chance to ask everything or whatever, just these are our emails. Feel free to reach out to us. So, Bill, shall we go through the questions? Okay.
Sorry, someone was calling my office, so I didn't want to turn on my mic while the phone was going off in the background. Yeah, thank you, Itxaso, for that overview. Yeah, so maybe we'll just go in order. So which colleges offer the MSc versus the MA? So all of the universities will offer a Master of Arts in Humanitarian Action outside of University College Dublin. That is the university that offers a Master's of Science. And that's one of the reasons why there are some universities that offer the joint degree and others that offer the double degree, because one degree can't be both a Master's of Arts and a Master's of Science. So I think that was a question later on, as to which universities offer the double degree. So the double degree is if you spend part of your program at University College Dublin or at University or the University of Uppsala. So those are the two that are currently right now not part of the joint degree procedure, simply because of either the MA versus MSc discussion or difficulty, or due to local or national regulations along the ability to offer a joint degree. So then, Itxaso, you may have already answered this, but can I present the TOEFL internet-based home edition test as language proficiency proof?
No, I'm afraid that this is not an acceptable certificate. We are very, very strict with that.
Thank you. So it seems quite straightforward answer to that. So the next question, if I would like to do policy work in humanitarian aid under large INGOs, and I'm applying to both the NOHA Master and a Master in Public Policy at a more prestigious institution, hurts a little bit. Yeah. How would accepting my offer from NOHA to study this humanitarian master be more beneficial in preparing myself for my intended career than regarding those universities' MPP programs? So the more prestigious aside, and I realize that was in quotation marks, so it's fine, because some of the NOHA universities are very highly ranked internationally. What I would say, I'll try to give you the more nuanced or less biased answer, although that's maybe a little bit difficult given the fact that we're coming from the NOHA side. So I would say there's probably advantages and disadvantages to both. If I had to pick one particular advantage as to why maybe the NOHA Masters would be an added benefit, I think it depends maybe what you have studied beforehand. As I said earlier, I always like to describe NOHA as a stepping stone that students can use to take what they've learned beforehand and contextualize it within humanitarian action or the humanitarian sector. So it really depends a little bit on what you've studied beforehand and what you want to do at those larger humanitarian INGOs. I think additionally, one thing that I would say would maybe speak for NOHA is the fact that, well, if you do the NOHA program, you then become a NOHA graduate. And as I mentioned before, there are over 4,000 NOHA graduates. Back in 2017, we did a survey of our graduates and saw that over 80% are either working either in humanitarian action, development, or peace, diplomacy, something along those lines. So as you sort of move along the program, the graduate community gives you really a network also that you can use to reach out. And I think one of my, there's a Facebook group for NOHA alumni, which I always love watching because, every week I would say someone sends the messages and says, next week I'm going to be in, Juba, or I'm going to be in Caracas, who's on the ground and one has time to meet up for a coffee and give me sort of a summary of what they're doing on the ground and who I should talk to. And so I think that's really one of the major added benefits of NOHA within the humanitarian sector, is that connectedness. And also, again, this interdisciplinary aspect of getting a general overview of humanitarian action and your ability really to engage with different institutions, different actors along the way. Itxaso, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I completely I completely agree, to be to be honest. I think that NOAA has a 30 years of experience, and this does not only mean that there are thousands of alumni, but that there is a network. It is well recognized, and somehow it also has this prestigious, let's say like this, maybe in the field and so on. It's like, you are also a NOAA, right? So it has some experience, it has evolved, it has adapted, and it has shown that it provides the necessary abilities to work in the field. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So moving on to the next question. So this applicant would have a law enforcement background of over 19 years, a bachelor's degree in security management and policing studies, and a diploma in disaster management. Would they qualify for NOHA Plus? And I used my original letter of appointment issued in the year 2003. Will this affect my chances of getting the Erasmus Mundus scholarship? So maybe you can answer the first part, whether this candidate or this applicant would qualify for NOHA.
Yeah. In order not to everybody in the session start sharing the background and so on, I will be giving a general response to that. When we assess a candidate, we don't only focus on the previous studies. This is also a question we get a lot of times. We analyze the candidature as a whole. So we analyze the motivation, the experience, of course, if there are some research experience to the language proficiency. So we need to take a look to the entire application to be able to tell you if somebody qualifies or not. So our in most cases, if you meet the criteria, which is having a bachelor in a field that may be somehow related to the humanitarian action, and you meet, for example, the language criteria, you have some experience, yes, it does not matter if you come from engineering or if you are a translator. We will need to take a look to your entire profile to give you a straight answer to that. So what you should do in this case, our advice is that you apply and we will be able in this way to check everything, because we also check the transcript, the grades, the experience, if you have been doing an internship, volunteer, and so on. So everything counts. So it's not only your previous degree that will be defining whether you are eligible or not to the program.
Thank you, Itxaso. So this applicant has completed their bachelor's degree and the result is already declared. And the last semester's results have been sort of issued by the department, but the official transcript and degree is still being processed. And but the student has a maybe certificate of completion or something along those lines. Would that qualify them to then apply for the Erasmus scholarship already by December?
Okay, if you have a certificate of completion stating that you graduated and you completed your studies before the 15th of December, this will be valid. However, what worries me is slightly about this question, if I'm correct, it is mentioned that the transcripts are not ready. I'm sorry, but we need to see the transcripts and they need to be ready for the application deadline. So if you don't have the final diploma, you may attach a certificate of completion, but it's compulsory to have the transcripts ready if you plan to apply for the Erasmus Mundus scholarship.
And the second part of the question is that the student or the applicant has taken the English proficiency certificate from their department, their university. Would this be sufficient in proving English sufficiency?
Okay, if you have carried out the entire bachelor in English, entire INCs, all subjects in English language, yes, this will qualify. But make sure the language of instruction does appear in the transcript, or otherwise you will need to ask the secretary or the register to please issue a certificate clearly stating that you have carried out the bachelor in English language. Okay. Otherwise, we don't have any way of knowing which is the language of instruction used during your bachelor.
Thank you. So is the research thesis generally completed at the host university or home university? So I would say for this, it usually at the home university. A lot of students will go back to their home university where they maybe have the closest connection and where their first thesis supervisor is located. That said, a lot of my classmates, a lot of my students here in the NOHA program now will do field research, or maybe will be doing an internship while finishing up their thesis, or in using their field research or their internship to collect data for their master's thesis. So generally, some universities may have some seminars or some courses, some small coursework in the fourth semester, but that really depends on the university. Most of the universities don't have any coursework for the fourth semester. So in theory, the students could sort of be anywhere in the world. So the website says NOHA's Erasmus was last renewed in 2020. Does this mean that this is the last year of intake offering the Erasmus scholarship? And does the program plan to renew this for the 2025 intake? Itxaso, I'll let you.
Yeah, well, that's indeed right. Our grant agreement with the European Commission finishes with the 24-26 cohort. Currently, we are internally discussing whether to apply again. I think that we will most probably do it But this is still no guarantee that we will be selected again as an Erasmus Mundus master program. So it's difficult to say whether we will be able to be offering a scholarship for the 25 onwards. Our main idea is to be able to do so, but we cannot make any promises at this stage.
Thank you. So if you work in the UN, for example, can you make your third semester, or could you undergo the third semester work placement at your own job? So this again is, and Gesundheit, Itxaso. This then also depends a little bit on your home university and their regulations. So as I said, in general, we try to keep the NOHA master's program to be sort of joint in its offer across all universities. However, there are specific regulations that may differ from university to university, just like offering the joint degree or a double degree based upon national legislation. So it's best to, maybe discuss this with the university you may be most interested in. If you want to apply for the University of Itxaso or the University of Warsaw, it's best to already go ahead and get in contact with maybe the faculty or the staff at those universities to ask what their regulations may be. And so if you go to the NOHA website, so nohanet.org, you can then see also a list of faculty at each university and oftentimes find their contact information to shoot a question on this. And what you would really be looking for then is to either get in contact with the director or the coordinator. Probably more the coordinator at each program, because your coordinator at each university will be your sort of first point of contact as you go through the program. So if my scholarship application gets rejected, am I still applying for the master, or do I have to apply again? Itxaso, maybe do you want to answer this?
Yeah. So if you are not among the selected applicants, you will be informed accordingly and also given the possibility to switch your application to a self-funded applicant. So you are not required to submit an application again. We will internally do so. Okay.
So what are the immediate within 6 months employability prospects of graduates from this NOHA master's program? I'm hoping to work in the UN or similarly large international NGO like MSF, ICRC, Oxfam. So I think, if you would have any graduate program that would try to give you sort of hard numbers on employability, I would be very wary of that. I would say, from my experience, most of the students that want to work in the sector after they graduate usually find their first job within 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, but it really depends. And that's where, it also depends on the student's background beforehand, what they've done beforehand, and what they do during their program. So, I always tell, students that are interested in the program, from my experience and, looking at my classmates, those that had the best transition from the master's to their sort of professional life after the master's, maybe they did an internship in their third semester, or you could also, in theory, do an internship also during your fourth semester while writing your master's thesis, and then, have just sort of gotten taken over taken on as full-time staff after the graduation is done. And I think that's a fairly typical experience that a lot of students have when they do their internships, particularly those that really have good experience in the humanitarian sector beforehand. I would say, maybe some of the larger organizations, depending on if you're coming in and you're new to the sector and you're coming straight out of your bachelor's, maybe you won't start off at one of the larger organizations. Maybe they'll want to see that you have field experience, or have some experience at smaller organizations beforehand. But it really depends, and also depends on exactly when you're coming out and what's going on in the world. Because as we can see around the world, there are points in time when humanitarian assistance is more needed than others. And I think right now is really one of those times, unfortunately. Does the German Abitur or the DAAD certificate also count as language proof? So unfortunately, that would not count. Correct, Itxaso?
No, I think it will not. I mean, this will count as this will be taken into consideration positively for your application that you have been interested and you have been learning and you are motivated enough to learn another language, but this is not a requirement.
So where should the applicants then attach their volunteering or short course experience that they may have before the program?
Okay, so in the online form, you will be able to add like a section for each of the experiences you have. You may do so, and if you, for example, you also have a certificate stating that you participated as a volunteer of that you completed I don't know which course, you will also have a section to attach a couple of additional documents. So I think this will be the right place to add those documents.
Perfect, thank you. And I have my original diploma in Portuguese in an online format. Can I send this online document along with the official translation, or do I need to request a paper copy of the diploma from my college and scan it? The same would then apply also to transcripts in this scenario.
Yeah. Okay. So at the application stage, at this moment, with a scanned version of the original diploma and transcript, it will suffice. There is no need to do anything else. But at a later stage, when in case you are selected and you are admitted, the universities may ask you to provide the originals and the hard copy when you are registering at the university. So at this stage, you may provide the online version, but be aware that maybe when you enroll in the program, you will be required to provide the original documents.
And so the maximum number of characters we discussed beforehand, is that with or without spaces? I'm not sure I've ever tested this. Have you?
Yes, because surprisingly, this is also a frequently asked question. And please be aware, spaces do count. Okay, so be aware of this. Okay,
Perfect.
can an
Thank you very
employment
much.
agreement be shown as a proof of residence? So usually it's not valid. Usually because as I told you, it must be issued within the last 12 months. So or my advice in your case is that you ask your employer to please prepare a certificate stating that you are residing in I don't know which country. Also, sometimes the kind of certificates they may issue mention that I don't know that you have been working in certain company. Please mention that the work has that you have been physically working there at the offices, because sometimes, and this has increased nowadays, we don't have we need to prove that you have been physically there in that country and you have not been working remotely. So please be aware of these nuances, okay? The certificate must be issued within the last 12 months and must clearly state that you have been physically residing at some time country. Okay.
Thank you. And so I'm experiencing a lot of, sorry, we'll jump to the second part of that question. If I'm currently enrolled in a master program, which will be completed before the beginning of NOHA next year, which means I don't have the diploma and transcripts yet, can I provide a copy of my results slip for the completed semesters in the section of the additional documents?
Well, Here are a couple of clarifying points. The first of all, that you mentioned that you are currently enrolled as a master, that you will not have the documents ready. No big deal, because what we need is the documents from your bachelor, not your master degree. So please, I insist, be aware. The diploma and the transcripts must be from your bachelor, not your master degree. And if in case you are a self-funded applicant, you may provide those documents later, okay? But this again will imply that you will be offered a conditional acceptance, a decision that which will be entirely made by your home university, okay?
So do the students have to make independent applications for their first and second semester universities where they want to study?
Yeah. Okay, so no, this is also a joint system. So you are only required to submit the application through the NOHA portal. Be aware, all universities have access to your application and your document. So Bochum can check the documents, Warsaw can check the document, Uppsala can check them. So please, anyway, uh, yeah, you need to also be aware that in some cases, some national requirements may apply. And I'm mentioning this here because in some cases, Uppsala requires some physical copies and so on. So please check in the National Admission Requirements page of the NOAA portal which whether these national requirements apply to you. In any case, this will only apply at the admission stage. At the moment of application, with scanned copies and so on, will suffice. But once you have been admitted, please be aware that you need to take these requirements into consideration. Okay, so
The next question is it possible to get a recording of this webinar? Yeah, so we're going to try to upload this online. I think I need to, double check that, I didn't say anything stupid or anything like that, but if not, I think we'll probably upload this to our YouTube channel for those that may be having difficulties sort of in following along the entire time. So to whom should our referees address the letters of recommendation? And given limitations on using humanitarian organizations' logos and emblems, will letters of recommendation be accepted without having a logo on it?
okay, so considering the first part, I'm sorry, I lost it.
So I think the first one, who should the letters of recommendation be addressed to?
No, sorry. Okay, so you need to take into consideration that the admission board is composed by lecturers from different NOAA universities. So even if you, I don't know, if you think that you want to study at Malta University, the ones checking your documents and everything, maybe lecturers from other institutions too. So our advice is to address always the letter A to the admission board directly, or B, use the generic to whom it may concern. This way you are completely safe.
Thank you. And so just looking around also for maybe some easy questions to answer before, to work off since the list seems to keep getting longer. Are there any age limits to apply for the scholarship of this master?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Are there any age limits to apply for the scholarship?
No. Sorry. No. It's true that our students are becoming younger, but there is no age limit, not for the admission, not for the scholarship, and usually also the scholarship holders tend to be they tend to have more experience, so they are usually older, but there is no age limit. And currently we have a student who is 50 years old and is a grantee, so no problem because of that.
And sort of building off that, is there a minimum number of years of field experience necessary to be able to apply? And who in general can apply for the Erasmus scholarship?
So there is no minimum experience required. No, as I just mentioned, the students are becoming younger and have less experience. There is no minimum required. So and with regards to the question about the scholarship, well, this is something I'm sorry I didn't mention. This is a very competitive process. We tend to receive almost like, I think last year it was 700 applicants only for the scholarship. So, and there are around 25 scholarship per master edition. So it's a competitive process. And usually the scholarship holders are the ones that have some field experience and also have an academic curriculum which is very good and it's related to the field. So please take a note of this. We need also to take into account gender and geographical balance when we also select the grantees. So this is important also. We cannot have, it's not possible to have, I don't know, half from the students, I don't know, from Bangladesh or 10 from, I don't know, from Sweden. No, this needs to be very, very carefully assessed.
And then one thing, I think you've already touched on this, but there is an aspect I wanted to bring in here. For those who are not accepted for the scholarship, is it still possible to attend in a self-funded manner? So yes, it is still possible, or under another kind of funding. And I wanted to answer this question because under the FAQs, if you go to nohanet.org and go under the master's program to get more information on the NOHA Masters, and you look under the FAQs, there is a list of other scholarships. So we have a lot of students that also apply who may not get the Erasmus scholarship to cover the entire cost of the program, but may apply for their own scholarship. And I would also say, that many of our students, if not almost all of our students, also get national Erasmus scholarships for their second semester. So if you're thinking, when they go from their home university to their second university or their host university. So, keep that in mind if you're thinking about, the sort of financial aspects of NOHA. That's always something that people consider quite a bit, but there are also other scholarships that you can look into. And, given the amount of time left before NOHA will start next year, I think everyone would still have enough time to apply for other scholarships as well in case they wouldn't get the Erasmus scholarship. So I'd really invite you to check out that list on the NOHA website and take a look and see what other funding opportunities are available. So it was mentioned that French is required for Itxaso. Can we choose Itxaso for the specialization period in the second semester with a promise to take language classes before September 2024?
Well, Aix-Marseille University is very strict with the language requirement, and I'm afraid that you will need to have a C1 level in French by the time of the application. So I'm sorry, but I fear this will not be sufficient. Again, in the case of X, if you by any chance have carried out the bachelor in French language in a French institution, this will also be considered proof of proficiency in French. So.
Thank you. So the next question, I'm from Colombia, but have been living in Spain for 2 years already. Can I apply for the scholarship?
Yes. The nationality, country of residence, or origin is not relevant for applying for the scholarship. We ask the nationality and the proof of residence because in case you are selected, the amounts change. But everyone who meet the admission criteria, of course, is welcome to apply, regardless of the country or residence or nationality.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to answer some questions by typing in the background because there are so many of them. So what are some factors or recommendation letters should include? Can you think of anything to sort of highlight there?
Well, I we analyze a lot of applications, so and we are quite used to read recommendation letters. So the generic language and so on. So if there is something extraordinary to highlight, or something that will be decisive or very significant for the field of humanitarian action, or any skill, any competence you may have, or just think that we read a lot of letters, so it will be nice if there is something surprising or striking that we say, oh, maybe this candidate is more, I don't know, interesting or than others. But otherwise, there is no format, no minimum requirement. It's a recommendation letter.
Thank you. So one question that I see just sort of jumping around as I'm answering, sort of typing in the background. And I think this all goes for all sort of third semester universities. Has a list of courses being offered by Fordham University or any of the third semester universities been confirmed for the 2024 cohort? And maybe you want to say a little bit about when that application period and how students will apply for that in their program.
Yes, because the third semester is always very exciting for students, let's say like this. So until the end of the first semester, we don't ask students to start thinking about the third semester. Just the foundation period, the intensive program, the first semester. And now in the first semester, once they are familiar with the system, with the studies, with the network, with how it works, now students need to start thinking about the third semester. How we do this? So for a student need to decide whether they want to choose the regional training track or work placement track around December, let's say like this. For those who want to apply for the regional training track, they will be asked to prepare a motivation letter and an updated CV that will be sent directly to the to the associated partner universities. They will be the ones making the selection. So we will ask you to choose 3 universities of your preference. For example, for that you mentioned, I don't know, Gajamada and German Jordanian University. So we ask you to put those in order to prepare a motivation letter and a CV for each university, and then we send the application to your first option. For example, for that, unfortunately does not select you, so we send to your second preferred university, and so on. So this is how it works with regards to the regional training track. So by December, when you are asked to put your preferences in order and to prepare the documents, you will also have what we call a manual, which is a document prepared by our partner universities and includes information with regard to the courses, but also some information about the logistics, accommodation, visa requirements, and so on. But in any case, this is done at the end of the first semester and there is enough time. And this is a manual that is updated on a yearly basis by the partner universities. So I'm afraid we don't have yet the information about for them for the next cohort, but this is something that it's updated on a daily basis. When it comes to the work placement track, the process usually starts a bit later because you need to think that organizations usually, um, yes, maybe don't know in November whether they will offer an internship by November next year. So they need to plan according to their real needs. So you need to be a bit more flexible, be also open to different offers. Um, we compile different internship and work placement options from NOAA. These are updated on a rolling basis. Like MSF sends an opportunity, so we publish, so it's public to all NOAA students. Um, and this is updated constantly. So, but don't expect that you will find all the internship offers by December. No, organizations work differently, and the timeline we adapt a bit the timeline. And this also, well, sometimes you find an internship later and it's not a big deal. Sometimes you find in the summer. This is, you need to be patient and also make sure that the internship you got is the one you like. From
Yeah.
our side, you will be given support at NOAA level, and also universities do have some agreements and some organization and institution that they are used to work with. So they will, you will be well advised.
I think, there are a couple of questions that I saw repeated in here. So one of the questions was about sort of acceptance rate and intake. And so maybe just a quick note on that. So we don't have any good statistics, or we don't necessarily keep statistics on acceptance rate, because it really depends on the university. And I would say, it also fluctuates from year to year. There are years where all of a sudden the University of Deusto may be really popular and get more, twice as many applications as they usually get, and then the next year it may change. So it really changes from year to year, and that sort of impacts the acceptance rate. There are some universities that have a cap to the number of students that they can take, and there are other universities that don't have sort of that cap of students that they can take, and they're sort of more flexible in their class size. So we don't necessarily keep any statistics on that. I would say that typically the NOHA program across the 8 universities is oftentimes about 110 to 140 students. It may, we've had years that it's been closer to 100. We've had years where it's been closer to 150. But in general, it's really oftentimes in that around 110 to 140 or 110 to 130 range. And that's across all 8 universities. Then the number of applications we get, I would say we usually get 1,200 applications, maybe. So if you're thinking of that, it's 10% of the students that apply end up doing the program. Then there will be some that maybe were accepted to the program but chose not to come. But that's approximately the size of the program every year and the size of each cohort. And then the exact specific size of each cohort depends on the university. Usually I would say Groningen, Deusto, Bochum, those universities maybe have in the first semester or their home university cohorts, maybe around 20 to 25, depending. But, again, that also changes from year to year. There were also a couple questions I saw, maybe Itxaso, you can help with, regarding sort of the breakdown of scholarships, based upon countries. How many are reserved for Europeans? If you can maybe say a little bit more about, how we sort of break down those numbers.
Yes. So we say that there are around 25 scholarship per master edition. This may change, but this is more or less the number we've got. So these are always 10 for partner country applicants. Partner country applicants refer mainly to non-EU countries. But be careful with this distribution between partner and program. To simplify, we say that partner are non-EU and program are EU countries. But be careful because, for example, Turkey is considered a program country, and for example, Switzerland is partner country. So this is a distribution made by the Erasmus Plus program by the European Commission. So I will advise you to check this. But to simplify, we will say that there are 10 scholarships offered to partner countries, non-EU, and 5 for program country applicants. Plus, so in addition to this, there are some scholarships that are targeted to concrete regions of the world that are considered strategical. For example, I don't know, the Western Balkans, South Africa. So there are concrete regions where we offer an additional scholarship. More or less, there are per year like 8 additional scholarship targeted to concrete regions. In any case, the distribution between partner and program applicant, this is not something that must worry you. This is not something that you need to do. This is something we internally do. It's an analysis and a differentiation we do internally. But as you see, both EU and non-EU applicants have possibilities.
Thank you. And so I'm a little wary about the time. So I promised Itxaso before we got started that we would be done by 4:30, and there are still 31 questions out there. Itxaso, do you have time to answer a few more, or the other option is we can answer them in writing and send around a document via email to all those that attended today?
Yes, I think it will be better if we combine and we send their responses. Yes, because otherwise it will be a never ending. Again, this will be recorded, so you will have everything on the on our socials. Check and pay special attention to the documents we mentioned. This information, everything we mentioned, is available on the website. This is not anything new. You will find all the information, all the list of accepted language proof, the residence proof, everything is on the website. And plus, you also have our email, so just feel free to reach out to us. We will be happy to answer your questions. If we forgot or left something unanswered that is important.
Perfect. So I just wanted to highlight one person who jumped on at 2:30 in the morning in Australia to listen to us. So thank you very much. Even if you didn't wake up in the middle of the night to listen to this presentation, it's really great to see all of your interest in the program. So, as I said, we will all stay on the call. I'll copy all of these questions into a Word document, and we'll send them. And then what we can do, Itxaso and I will answer them. We'll send around this to all of you since you registered for this webinar online, and we have your email addresses. Then we'll try to upload this recording to our YouTube channel here in the next couple of days. And then, I would invite you to, if you don't already, follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and we will, post a link to this video once it goes online. So, Itxaso, thank you so much for taking the time today and joining me to go through the NOHA program and answer these questions. Thank you to all of the interested applicants for taking the time and for your great questions, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.